Alright, so let's get right to it. Let's start by drawing the most basic form of element that we can think of in JavaScript, and that is a line. Now if we look at the helper.js file, what I've done is I've created a very simple function called line, and you have to supply it the two endpoints of a line, x1, y1, and x2, y2. In reality, what JavaScript is performing these three functions to actually draw the line on the screen. So let's use it as is. So let's go into main.js, and we're not going to do it in the main draw yet. We're still going to be doing it outside of this. And all I need to do is call the line command, and I need to start specifying the four parameters. The x and y of the first point, and then the x and y of the second point. So let's start it just to show where the origin is. We're going to draw it at 0, 0, which is the top left of the screen, and then we'll draw it over, let's say, 100 pixels to the right and 150 pixels down. Now if we put our semicolon in here and we save, and now if we go over to our command here and we run it, we get a line that starts at 0, 0 and goes to 100 pixels over and 150 pixels down. And this is clear because it's definitely lower down than it is farther over. So that's all there is to it, to a line. Very simple, very straightforward. There's nothing really complex about it. Similarly, we can draw other simple shapes such as rectangles. So a rectangle, going back to the helper.js file again, let me just scroll down a little bit until I get to it. So we have this function here called rect, which is of course short for rectangle. And we can see that it requires 4 parameters as well, but its parameters are a little bit different. So just to draw this, if I'm going to draw a rectangle inside my canvas here, and I want to draw my rectangle like that, what I'm specifying is an x and y coordinate, which represents the top left-hand corner of my rectangle, and then a width and a height. From that, I'd be able to calculate what the 4 corners are very simply. So for example, if this is at x, y, then this point over here is x plus w, y, because we've gone over one width of the rectangle, so x plus w. So going back over into Sublime over here, we can actually start to draw one of these. So let's give that a go. So let's leave our line there, no point in getting rid of it. And we're going to call the rect functionality. So first thing we need to do is specify a location for the top left hand corner. Well, let's start it where our line ended, just so we can make things flow a little bit. And now we can make it as wide as we want and as high as we want. So let's make a vertical rectangle. So let's say 30 pixels wide and 100 pixels high. I'm going to save my work. And we go into here and we hit F5, and there's our rectangle, starting directly at the end of the line and going 30 pixels over and 100 pixels high. So that is a rectangle. So we're going to do one more before we end this video, and that is a fill rectangle. And the fill rectangle actually uses the exact same parameters as a rectangle. The only thing we have to do is change the command. So in helper.js, we can scroll down again. We can see that our rect requires an x, a y, a width, and a height. Our fill rect requires again an x, a y, a width, and a height. So if we go back to our main.js, let's just copy and paste this line just to keep our lives a little bit simpler. And we're going to change this to fill rect, and let's move it over 100 pixels, just so we can compare it. So other than that, it's exactly the same. We'll go back and we hit F5, and now we have 2 rectangles on here. We can see the one that's actually filled in the color black. You might think to yourself, well, can I not use any other colors? Yes, you can. That's going to be in tomorrow's modules when we get into a little bit more complex graphical commands. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple. So at this point, we can draw a line, we can draw a rectangle, and we can draw a fill rectangle. In the next module, we're going to show a few more draw commands, which allow you a little bit more flexibility.